Thank you for everybody who's joining this session of Adapt the Canvas, Tuesday, 6 p.m. We have got a show tonight. Some of you are going to love it. Some of you are going to resonate with it. It's very important. And so I just want to thank everybody for joining. We go deep in these sessions. I'm trying to really help creators shift their beliefs, their mindsets about what's possible. So tonight is no different. Tonight's session is called The Key to Transformation. And I'm going to be sharing some of my personal story, my journey of how I got through a really, pivotal moment in my career. And especially, a lot of you know my story. A lot of you know my career trajectory. A lot of you don't know the reason why I took some time out. And I'll explain in tonight's session. But let's dive in. Tonight's session, the key to transformation. A lot of you know what I'm talking about. We're going through a time of transformation. We're going through a time of change. There's creators out there who are trying to level up, who are feeling stuck, who are feeling like they need help. They want development. Something's not quite right. There's people out there in 9-to-5s who are creators at heart. I know you. I see you at raves, I see you out, you come to my talks, you come to my workshops, you've got the desire, you want to be a full-time creator, you've got a passion, you're a designer, you're an artist, you're a creator, you're a fashion, you make clothes. There's something about you that you've been hiding away. There's something about you that you want to share it with the world, but something's missing, you haven't quite taken that next step, right? I'm talking to you. You guys know this is for you. The keys to transformation. First of all, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. If you haven't already, please sign up to the newsletter. Adaptthecanvas.com. Sign up to the newsletter. Let's build, let's grow. Let's take this community to the next level. I'm in this for the long haul. I've been building this community for the last 10 years. Everybody who knows about disruptive patterns, if you've been way back, we've switched into Adapt the Canvas. This is a platform for creators, designed for creators. We're creating courses, workshops. We're developing artists and creators and taking them on this journey to that next level. So that's what we're here to do tonight. This is my mission. This is what I'm dedicating. My next part of my journey is about helping creators, building this platform and helping creators figure out what's next and how to get to that next level. So sign up to the newsletter. The key to transformation. What is transformation and is it necessary? Again, if you are stuck where you are and you've got a full-time job, but your passion is, being a creator, something that's driving you every day, you go to work, you hate it. It's this 9-to-5 grind and you just haven't figured out how to make that transition to that next step. Then transformation is the key. Changing is the key. Taking steps to get to that next level is the key. And through this story, which I'm going to tell you tonight, you're going to find some insights, some aha moments that's going to help you get to that next place. You're a creator and you've been doing this for a while, but you're not seeing any progression. It's frustrating. You're stressed. You're worried. You know that more people should be tuning into your work. You know that your work could be even more, valuable in the sense that the message in your work could reach more people, could come from a different place, but you haven't quite tapped into that thing that makes your story unique. You haven't quite tapped into that story, that part of yourself that people could tune into and have that aha moment with when they hear this, say, that's for me. Because you haven't really gone to that place in yourself, you're playing it safe. You're not willing to take what you consider a risk. We'll get a bit more into that in tonight's session, but you ain't willing to take that much of a risk to go to that place that's pushing you to be uncomfortable, to do something that you don't normally do. So what do? You stay safe. You stay frustrated. You stay in that 9-to-5. You haven't quite figured out what it is that you need to do. And you keep saying to yourself, I've tried everything. It's still not working. What else do I need to do? You haven't tried everything, and there's a lot more you can do. So progress is our natural state. When we don't feel progress, we feel like we're being held back. I felt like this. I know loads of creators out there feel like this. Loads of human beings generally feel like this. I think we have been tricked on this planet that we need to work to make a living. We need to change that psychology to we need to work so we can explore our passions. We need to work so we can explore what makes us unique, what lights us up. You know, that's not like a conversation that's out there. It's almost like you can't make a like tell me if this is true for you. When you've explained to people that you wanted to be a creator, and I had this from my dad. I said to my dad, yeah, I want to be a DJ. I want to be, I want to go out there and play music for everybody and enjoy. My dad said, because I had dreadlocks at the time. He goes, cut your hair and go and get a proper job. And I was like, gutted. Do you know what I mean? Like, my dad didn't believe in my vision. And I know there's people out there, you've shared your vision with people and you've just been chopped down. And you keep getting chopped down and eventually you stop sharing your vision and you wondered, how in the fucking hell am I going to make this vision come true? People keep chopping me down. People keep knocking my vision down. Like, how am I going to find the strength to keep going? Because it takes strength. You're sharing your dream, you're sharing your vision with people and they just keep knocking you out. They don't get it. And today's more easier, but it's still a challenge. Imagine what this was like 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I'm 19 years old and I see this film Wildstar and these guys are cutting, scratching, DJing, MCing, breakdancing. And I'm like 19 years old. There's nothing like that in my area. I grew up in this council estate in Bristol. And there's nothing like that. And I see that and I finally figure out that's who I am. That's what I want to be for the rest of my life. I want to do that. And I go to my dad. I'm the excitement. Dad, I want to do this thing. He's cut your hair and go and get a real job. You feel that as a 19-year-old who hasn't found a place in the world yet, who hasn't found a place in society yet, who doesn't fit in with everybody else, who feels he's a coloner, feels like his ideas aren't worth anything. He's got low self-esteem, and your dad tells you, boof, go and cut your hair and get a real job. What would you do? What are you doing? Some of you people are feeling like that right now. Your other half, you're explaining to them, you know what? I always wanted to be a DJ. Don't be silly, love. You're too old for that. I always wanted to start a fashion brand. What do you know about fashion brands? Just get back to work. And constantly these knocks that keep coming at us. And we don't know what to do. Some of us didn't know what to do. I certainly didn't know what to do. Secretly, I was like, fuck off. Because in my heart, I'd found something that I knew I could do. I never tried it before. I saw it and I knew I could do it because it just clicked. It just felt right. I was breakdancing. I was trying to be a rapper. I had the energy. And that was the first thing I would tell you guys out there to have. As long as you got that energy, that's the first thing. If you don't have that energy, if you don't have that fire, if you don't have that glint in your eye that is like, what do you know? You can't, you've never gone after your dream. Why are you trying to hold me back? They're not the right people to share it with. You don't share your dream with people who aren't doing what you want to do. That's the first rule. Step away from those people. Right? Just step away from those people. Get your vision around and in your passion around people who are already doing it. Shall I tell you why? Because they already gone through those type of decisions. They already gone through those type of disappointments. They already gone through those type of, feelings of being let down and frustration. But they found a way through. That's your first thing. You got to keep that fire burning, but be around the people that went through those obstacles. So that's what I did. I found a group of people that wanted to do the same thing I did. And we started a little crew and we started supporting each other. We started supporting ourselves. We blocked out the noise from our parents and from society that told us we were nothing, we were nobodies and we were never going to amount to anything. That was their vision. That was what they got told. That's why they gave up. That's why they became bitter and angry. because they couldn't find a way to get through. Don't let that be you. Don't let that self-talk of the tyranny of how, and I'll get into that in a minute. How are we going to do it? How am I going to make a living? How. The how questions rob your energy. You just notice your energy goes down. And if someone's saying to you, how are you going to make it work? You notice your energy going down. You don't have the answers. And because you don't have the answers there and then, they think you don't know what you're doing. You don't need to have the answers there and then. You don't need to know how. You don't need to know what the right thing to do is. You just got to know that you got the fire in you and you got that passion in you. Right? The next step is crucial. Keep that fire burning. Right? When I left Full Cycle at the height of my career, people were saying, what are you doing? Like, you're crazy. You're mad. Like, why are you leaving? I realized I needed to make a change. I was doing something that in the beginning I was passionate about. In the beginning I was fired up about. But after 20 years, something had changed. I needed to make a transformation. And the reason why I'm starting at this point is because it's easy for me to say how I became a DJ back then because there was no competition. And so it wouldn't be a fair assessment to tell you the story of how I started in the beginning, because it's not like today. The market's saturated, the technology's changed. We're in a different world. The transformation that needs to happen today is the same transformation that I went through almost 15 years ago, and which would be more relevant to tell you. And it was because I got this amazing career. I created lots of security for myself. I had income, I had credibility, I had status. This was the hardest decision I had to make. And why I'm saying it, I'm talking from this point of view, is because there's creators out there. There's people out there who are stagnating on making this decision, right? And the decision is a tough decision. It's a hard one to make, right? And the reason why it's a hard decision to make, and the reason why it took me 3 years to pluck up the courage to make this decision, even though I knew it was time, I couldn't make the decision for such a long time. And for me, when I was standing in a nightclub, I remember just standing up against the wall. It was a Full Cycle night. It was packed. We'd just come back from America, off of American tour. We were flying high. A couple of months back, maybe a year before that, we just won the Mercury Music Prize for Represent. We toured all around the world. We tore the place down. It was going great. Everything was amazing. By all accounts, you know, I was one of the most successful creators on the planet up until that point. But I was deeply unhappy. I couldn't figure it out. I did all the things that everybody told me to do. I ticked all the boxes. I had a successful career. I was making loads of money. I was driving a nice car. I was living in a nice house. I had a nice partner. I was just unhappy. I couldn't figure out what was going on. But the truth was that all these things couldn't make me fulfilled at my deepest core level. You know, I was burning out. You know, I wasn't doing the things I was anymore. And it was just this natural place that the universe was saying, bro, you got two choices. Either you're going to keep on going down this road and completely fizzle out, or something worse was going to happen, or you're going to step away and rebuild, reinvent, transform. And when I first felt that feeling, I was completely shook. I was like, what do you mean, like, leave Full Cycle? What do you mean, like, stop being a DJ? What do you mean, like, stop making music? I couldn't imagine that, right? And I know some of you people are having the same feelings. Like, you're in this career, you're doing this job, and you can't imagine not doing that. But the problem is, if it's not fulfilling you, if it's not giving you what you really want to do out of life, if it's not the thing that's driving you every day, you wake up and you're not doing that one thing, then you've got two choices. Carry on going down that road to unhappiness, to unfulfillment, or go down the road that's seldom walked. And admittedly, it took me 3 years to pluck up enough courage. But in that nightclub, on that night, this question came to me, which was a shock. And it was, is this all there is? after everything that I'd been through, all the journeys that I'd gone through, I'd reached a point in my career where I had to admit that this wasn't it. Right? And I know it sounds strange here, you guys must think it's strange coming from me, but it wasn't it. That wasn't like the full extent of who and what I was. And so I was holding on to this idea of what DJ Crust was. I was holding on to this idea of what a producer was, or I was as a DJ. I was having a crisis of identity. And that's why a lot of us can't shift and move to that next level. We got so much invested in this identity of who and what we think we are. And for me, it was like, who is this guy Crust? He's a DJ. That's all he is. And so in my mind, it's like, if I'm not a DJ, here we go, tyranny of how. How do I make a living? How? And so you don't make progress. You don't move on to the next level. You don't take the next steps because the how question because the crisis of identity is the crisis of survival. If I'm not X, how do I survive if I'm not X? When X is providing me an income, status, right? Identity, income, business, right? If I'm not all of those things, then how do I do the new thing? Because the new thing, I can't even imagine what that was going to be. I didn't have any ideas at that time. I couldn't even imagine what that would be. After I spent 20 years investing my time, my energy into this thing, how am I going to do the next thing? So think about that. Whatever you're doing out there, whatever the career that you're saying is more important than this future dream, because the steps aren't clear. So you're trying to figure out, how am I going to do that? This thing, the comfort zone, we stay comfortable. We stay in this space because it's familiar, it provides us income, but it's robbing us of our dream. So let's do the thought experiment. You're 75 years old. Your grandchildren come up to you and say, did you do everything you wanted to do with your life? And you have to think back, did I? I had an opportunity to transform my life and go down this new road where I really fulfilled my desires. I did something that was truly me, truly unique. I took the steps and I made it happen. Didn't happen overnight. I took the steps though, and I created something and I made it happen. Or you're going to be that 75-year-old and you're going to say, do you know what? Children, I didn't fulfill my potential. I didn't take the steps. I had an opportunity, but I was afraid that it wasn't going to work out, so I didn't take any action. I was scared that I couldn't make the same type of income, so I didn't take any action. If you do that thought experiment, you'll come to an understanding and a realization. Time's going to pass anyway. You're going to get old anyway. But while you're young and you're vital, you do have energy and you do have the ability to make choices. There's no more time for this lone wolf mentality. I'm going to do it alone. I'm going to figure it out, or nobody helps me. That's not applicable anymore. We live in a creative place where we live on a creative place now where we have lots of opportunity around us. Communities like this one, Adapt the Canvas, where we are helping creators get to that next level. It's not as difficult as it used to be, but it is going to be a challenge. And it was a challenge for me. That night, when I stood in that club and asked myself that question, is this all there is? I knew that I couldn't stay doing that thing for much longer. And within 6 to 8 months, I left the label, I left the scene, and I took 7 years out. And in those 7 years, I completely rebuilt myself. I transformed my life. I reinvented myself. Was it easy? No, it was not easy. It was not easy. The idea took a long time to develop, to get some clarity around. But there was one thing that came to mind through that whole process, and it was this one singular question that sparked off this whole journey for me, which is adapt the canvas. But back then it was called disruptive patterns, and it's one question, and that question I remembered from being on the road and traveling around. People kept asking me, "How did you become a DJ?" And that question was the sole question that opened the door for me to start transforming myself. Because when I left, I had to sit down and I started answering that question. I thought, how did I become a DJ? You know, what was the reason why I took those next steps? Because there's lots of people when we started DJing back then. Why did I take the steps, and why did other people around me not take the steps? And that sent me down the rabbit hole of really understanding the thing that I broke down just now with the crisis of identity. Really deep subject, can't be spoken about in this session, because it really breaks down and unfolds and unwraps the mindset around transformation and why people do what they do, and why people are insistent on staying comfortable, and why we use words like risks or this how-to. It's a framework. We've all bought into it. We've all part of that structure, just the way that we've been kind of conditioned into the society. So the tyranny of the how question keeps people stuck. It kept me stuck. And it might be the thing that's holding you back. How do I do X? Well, that's not the first part we start with. Remember, it's the desire we want first, the burning desire, the obsessive behavior. I was obsessed around becoming a DJ, becoming a producer, starting a label. And then when I took that 7 years out, I was obsessed around finding the solution. I didn't know what was up. I just knew that I was good at the exploration. You know, part of what I'd say I am as a sampler, I'll sample lots of things and I'll start putting ideas together and recreating something and trying to create something original. So, so that's what I did. I knew enough to start exploring some new ideas. I found a book. It was about mindset. It was about personal development. It was about consciousness and beliefs, patterns and habits. I devoured the book. I had never really read books before, but that started off my own personal education. I started to devour books on a regular. I started to really understand the power of the mind. And from that, I developed a workshop. From that workshop, I started teaching and coaching one person. Right? So you can see this development. So if you're out there and you want to get to that next place where you figure out that it's this thing that you want to do and you're really excited and you're really passionate about, but you're looking at it from this big perspective. You're saying, I've got to do this big thing. It's a huge shift. No, it's not. That's where you end up down the road. When Steve Jobs built, and Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs built Apple, they might have envisioned this massive company, but they started with one computer. Right? So think about that. You've got this dream, this vision. It's like, where can you start? What can you start with? Right? This is big. We all got these big, massive dreams. You know, one day I'll share my next big dream with you guys. But it's big, it's huge, right? But it's not going to be, you know, I can't do it all in one go. This is part of it. This coaching, this live stream, this podcast, this is part of it. This is like the stepping stones to build in, you know, the brand, the idea, but it's not the finished thing. The finished thing won't be done till, you know, maybe my children or my grandchildren will finish it. That's how big the vision is. Right? There's something called a BHAG, a big, audacious, hairy goal that takes people from where they are now to this dream, this vision that has to be big. It has to be exciting, or else there's no fire in it, right? And think about it. Why? if some of you are umming and ahhing, you're on the fence about trying to do whatever this dream is that you're going to be doing next, maybe it's not exciting enough, right? Maybe it's not a challenge for you. Maybe that's why you haven't pulled the trigger and actually dived into it. Maybe it's just like something that, doesn't really send you, this is how you, basically, right? This is how you know it's an obsession. Everybody keeps telling you to shut up about it, right? If you've got one of those things, that's an obsession, right? You chew the ears off of everybody around you. Everybody around you says, "Mate, you're always talking about that." That is something that you need to figure out how to accomplish, right? That's what I'm talking about with this burning obsession, burning desire, right? Why? Because that burning obsession, that burning desire is going to take you through the obstacles that you will face, right? You will always have obstacles. And here's the thing, obstacles aren't there to stop you from getting to the next level. Obstacles are there to toughen you up so that you're stronger to manage the next level. So think about that. Whatever resistance you're going through right now, and you're saying it's hard, you're saying it's, no one's helping me, there's no resist, people are holding me back, and whatever language and excuses you've got, notice that that's not what's really going on. What's really going on at the deep level is you're just being made tougher so that you can deal with the situation. Because on every level, there's a different level of commitment. What got you to here will not get you to there. But you have to become more resilient. You have to become tougher. You have to recognize it's your own psychology that you are dealing with to get to that next level. And so that leads us into one of the main causes of the identity crisis is fear. Fear of the unknown. Right? Mind won't go to a place where it can't see how to actually accomplish the thing, so it shuts down. Confused minds always say no. When something is not clear, we just say no, I'm not doing it. And that's what happens. When you're using the language of how do I do this, you're asking a question about something you don't know how to do, but you can't see how to do either. And I'm not talking about your eyes, I'm talking about your imagination, your instinct, your intuition. When you cannot see how to do something, you just say, "No, I can't do it." Right? We all live in the future. Despite how reality appears to us, we move from the future to the present. Right? And again, if you dive into the courses, we go a lot deeper into this concept, but we are all drawn from the future. We look at the future to give us the cues on what we do in the present. Right? And what we do in the present is so that we can move into the future. If you have a past that's not favorable, you can figure out a way to reframe your past, because most of us are held back by our past. But our past is gone. It's, I'm pointing, but the past is gone. Future hasn't happened, so all we have is the present. So we're making up the story in our present moment about what the past is and what the future is. So we have confirmation of what the past is. That's what gives us security. That's what we think gives us security. So we stick to it. We keep doing the same thing, hoping that it's going to repeat itself, because that's what makes us feel safe. Security of the repeating patterns and the habits. So that's why we don't want to change, because we cannot predict what an uncertain future is going to give us. So we never take steps to it because it's unpredictable. It's uncertain. We can never know all there is to know before we take action in it, but we can predict what our present is going to be like based on our past. So we tend to do that. So we go round and round in the same loop. We have this idea about wanting to go to the next level, but we never actually take the action to get there. So in this moment, this is where this course, Adapt the Canvas, and the training which I provide comes in. We interrupt that process. We help you innovate. Why is it important to innovate? Think of where we are in the planet right now, 2024. Think about how much disruption and insecurity and uncertainty that's in the planet right now. Most people will say this is the worst time on the planet, right? And that's because you're not a seasoned creator, you're not a seasoned innovator. The most seasoned innovators right now know that this is the most creative time on the planet. Why? Because of disruption. Most of the biggest companies that we rely on today were created in disruptive times like now. Well, that's not possible, you say. Well, you got to think about it. When things are breaking apart, when things are changing, there are people who recognize the opportunities. You've got 100-year-old companies that are starting to fall apart, that smaller companies are starting to understand how to use and leverage technology to take advantage of the opportunities that are being presented right now. I'll name two of them. Airbnb, biggest hotel chain in the world. They do not own one single hotel. Uber, biggest taxi car service in the world. They don't own a single car, right? Both started because they understood the disruption and the innovation and they saw the future. And I'll give you another one, Netflix. When they started, they tried to sell their idea to blockbusters. Blockbusters couldn't see the future, therefore they didn't know that eventually the internet would be fast enough to stream live video. Hence why we have Netflix, why we're doing this live stream. Blockbusters couldn't see the vision. So they just said, nah, why would we? No one's going to watch the TV on their devices or download TV on their smart TVs. They couldn't see the future. They didn't know about Moore's law. They didn't know about trends, technology, and how things were going to be moving quickly. They were stuck in their old mindset, guarding their walled castle because they had the market share, but they weren't innovating, and then they got caught out by the changing trends. I'll tell you another thing that happened as well. It happened to us at Full Cycle when vinyl was king. When vinyl was king, we were selling, bucket loads of vinyl. I know everybody at that time, everybody who was doing vinyl at their own label was selling bucket loads of vinyl, and all of a sudden digital comes in. We weren't prepared for it. We didn't see the future. We didn't understand what digital was going to do. And all of a sudden digital came in and totally decimated the music industry. To the point now where it's streaming is decimating the music industry. There is a solution. I'm not going to get into that tonight though. But when you are not aware of the trends, when you're not aware of where this industry is going, when you're not constantly thinking as like an innovator, like a creator, you're constantly protecting what you have. And if you're protecting what you have, you're protecting the past, right? And that's not a good place to be in. You don't want to be protecting your past. You want to have an open mind about your legacy, but also you want to have an open mind about what the potential of the future can bring. And that's what we're talking about with this session. That's what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. And that's what we will continue to talk about for the foreseeable future. How do you capitalize on your own creativity? How do you capitalize on your imagination, your instinct, your intuition? How do you capitalize on your unique signature blueprint? And if you were listening to a few episodes ago, I explained to you what your signature blueprint is and how you use your signature blueprint to take your art form to that next level. Right? Very important part of the puzzle. And this is why lots of people aren't making that next jump to the next place, because they haven't tuned into that signature blueprint. They're still trying to compete on the level that everyone else is competing on. And that's why you're asking the how questions. I can go much deeper in this in a different call. But tonight, we're still talking about transformation and how you get from where you are to where you get to. So you can see how I'm breaking this down. It's quite simple what I'm saying, some of it, but the actually taking the system requires a total readjustment of your unconscious mind, of your self-beliefs, of your self-image. This is the identity crisis, the self-image. I was just a DJ. So if I'm just a DJ, how can I now be a coach, a mentor, a business owner, and CEO of Crust Inc. or K Inc. because I had to change the identity. I had to change my patterns. I had to change my beliefs. I had to change how I saw myself. You will never outperform your self-image. However you see yourself, you won't outperform it. Whatever you say you are, you won't outperform it. So there's creators out there who are stuck in this space saying, oh, I'm just the delivery guy, or, I'm just the, whatever you saying you are. No, you're not. That's just how you identify yourself right now. If you want to get to that next level, you have to change your language, change how you perceive yourself. And that directly ties into this whole idea of the identity, the perception of your identity, and the stories that's built around it. We spoke about stories in the last one of the last sessions. You see how all these sessions, they compound on each other. If you haven't checked them out, you can go onto YouTube, Adapt the Canvas on YouTube, and you can check all of these sessions. Or you can read the newsletters on adaptthecanvas.com. I go and address these issues, and you can look at the case studies. I talk you through 2 case studies on our platform where I took someone through this whole structure, and I'm taking people through it on my coaching program. So I'll give you guys a bit more information on that later on in this discussion. But can you start to see how all of these things work together to create a new something, right? We've got to be willing to innovate. And in that innovation, you will have to step into the one place that most people don't want to step into, and that is the unknown. Here's the thing about the unknown. The unknown, there's nothing there, but that doesn't mean that there's no resources there. So nothing is actually where everything comes from. So I'm just a little play on the words here. But it's, when you really drill down into it, all your ideas come from nothing. So you have to be willing to reduce whatever you do back down to nothing so that you can gain everything again. And that is where most people fear to go. Right? That's what the support groups are for. That's what this platform is for, helping you get through that. So the transformation is relevant, the reinvention is relevant, the disruption creates opportunities. So you have to disrupt yourself. I had to do that. Go back to, I'm in the highest point and success of my career. I'm enjoying it, I'm riding the high, but I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I have to disrupt my pattern. Right? I'm earning all this money. I've got all this status. I'm one of the top DJs in the world. I'm traveling all around the world DJing, playing all from China to New Zealand to Hong Kong. But there's something missing. Something's not quite right. Am I willing to stop all of that? Because I know deep down, if I don't, I'll regret it. I know deep down something won't be right if I don't take this time to X out and come back. And I know there's creators out there, you're having this conversation, something's going on in you, I'm stirring something up. I'm pushing you to start thinking differently about the decisions that you're making that's holding you back. So I stepped out. I found my new thing, but through being disciplined, by setting up a system that I created that I called a disruptive pattern. And that system really helped me get clear on what it was that I wanted to do. That system helped me get focused on what it is that I wanted to do. That system helped me reinvent my life. It helped me change and go from, a creator who was struggling inward, but somebody outwardly who was quite successful. It appeared like it was all together, but inside it was kind of falling apart, and that's how good I was kind of hiding it. But that is not something you can build on. That's not a business model or a personal life model. Eventually it was going to break down. And so noticing your own life, where have you been, faking it? Where have you just been holding it together, thinking that it's just going to work if I just keep holding it together? if I just keep pretending, keep saying, yeah, I'm great when you know you're not. You know, when you just know that you could be doing something else, when you could be doing this thing that really makes you fulfilled and happy. Don't get me wrong, there's days when it's hard work. I'm actually feel like today, not like today, but in today my life, I'm more fulfilled. I'm still doing music, but I do it in a different way. I still play out DJing. I do live shows now, and I do adapt the canvas. And I feel like, with Wonder Palace now, my sort of music brand, which we're doing some exciting things coming up. I feel like I'm fulfilled in all the areas that I can be fulfilled in. I really enjoy doing this coaching and mentoring. It feels like a different version of performance to me, where I can share my knowledge, I can share my experience, and I can help other creators who are on that career trajectory who need that support. That's fulfilling for me. I get a lot out of that. DJing, I get a lot out of that. Sitting in the studio making music, I get a lot out of that. So I feel like, I'm in a good space. Is it work? Yes, of course it is. There are some days that are a challenge. There are some days that are hard. So I'm not suggesting that you're going to find your thing that's going to, make your life better and it's going to be easy. That's not what I'm selling here. I'm saying, like, you don't want to get to the, that 70, 80-year point in your life and have regrets, because there's something that you could have done when you had the energy, the focus, and the opportunity, and you didn't, right? You kept telling yourself some story, some reason why, right? And there is a way, there is a route through it, and it's a challenge, right? But it's a challenge to do nothing. That's the thing. It's a challenge to do nothing for the foreseeable future, because time, like I said, time's gonna pass, energy's gonna pass, the universe is gonna move, the stars are gonna align. That's all still gonna happen. You want to figure out what you're gonna do with your time while you're here. That's what this is about. I couldn't stand in that club and honestly say to myself that this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. It is, but it wasn't going to be in that form. That's what I was having trouble trying to figure out how to accomplish. So I know there's people out there who are trying to figure this out. And that's what I'm suggesting. Come on board, join Adapt the Canvas, get that support, be in a community of like-minded creators who are going through the same journey as you, and start making the inroads to this thing that's going to change your life. Of course it's going to be work, right? Of course it feels like work. Of course it's going to be demanding, right? It's demanding anyway. Life is demanding anyway. But figure out a way you're actually working every day towards your goal, towards your vision. I look at it like this. I ask myself this question, like, what is your legacy going to be? Like, that's my question right now. At this stage of my life, what's your legacy going to be? What is it that you want to be remembered for? What is it that you want to do? That's what's driving me. I'm very, very fortunate that I've had the career that I've had, that I've gone through, and I'm still inspired. I'm still excited about being part of the creator community and building a coaching transformational brand through this coaching community, and getting the opportunity to do all of this stuff, live streams, talks, workshops, and be invited to do talks and workshops. That is the goal for me. That is exciting for me. So, what is your goal? What excites you? What are you passionate about? What are your next steps going to be? Leave some comments, some things in the comments, so I can get a sense of what it is that excites you, that you need help with. Leave some comments around what it is that you've been held back on and you need a bit more clarity on. Let's get clear on what that is. Everything is about design. Everything is about taking the steps to go to that next level. That's by design. The questions you should be asking yourself is, that's interesting. What are the opportunities? I wonder. I'm curious. That language offers you the ability to take some steps where you are uncomfortable, where it potentially is something that is new, is different. Whatever you can imagine can be created. It just takes commitment. It takes persistence. It takes thoughtfulness. And it takes a decision to want to step into it. And everybody has that potential, no matter what anybody around you says. So if you want to take some of your ideas to that next level, you can sign up to Adapt the Canvas newsletter, and in the newsletter there is a link to set up an appointment so you can have a one-on-one conversation with me, and I can help you brainstorm some ideas and figure out some ways that you can take whatever you want to take to that next level. There's definitely some opportunities there. I've got space for 2 to 3 more people on it for the next 3 months. I'm working on 3 months on a 90-day system, so I've got space for 2 to 3 more people. If you want to join the Elevation program, where that's really about creators who got an idea of what they want to do and they want to take it to that next level, that's for you. If you're not quite sure what you want to do, book the call anyway. We can have a conversation, 20-30 minute conversation, and I can help you get the clarity you need, and then you can make a decision what you want to do with that next. But join the newsletter, adaptthecanvas.com. There's loads of resources on there on how to take some next steps, some great exercises, some great case studies as well, so you can figure out and see through other people's journeys what is possible for you. I haven't found and worked with anybody who couldn't figure this thing out. So if you're sitting on the fence and you're worried about, this isn't going to work for me, I'm always going to be stuck here. Nah, you can figure out a way, and working on the platform together, we can figure out a way to get you to where you want to get to. I just want to thank everybody for listening for this episode of Adapt the Canvas. If you find value in this, please share this with your friends. Share this with other creators out there who you know could do with it. We are in changing times. We are in a transformation. We are in a shift. Something new is occurring. We are moving towards, I believe, a time for creators, and the creators who are the most equipped with the belief system, with the skill set, with the knowledge, with the passion, with that sense of adventure, will be the ones who will succeed. Not saying that nobody else can benefit, but I really truly believe that we're entering into a new kind of golden era for creatives, where the platforms will be changing, and we'll do a session on that coming soon. But the platforms are changing, where we're moving into Web3. It's going to be more direct-to-consumer focused, more decentralized, less restrictions, less rules, and this bullshit way of reaching the right people will be gone. That whole pay-to-play model will change. You'll still have to pay to play, but it will be a different model. We're seeing the development of that at the moment, and it's something amazing what's starting to come through. If you want help with that, like I said, let's join the platform and let's figure this out together. Adapt the Canvas is a community for creators, designed by creators, to help creators develop their own unique gifts, develop their own ideas, and take their careers and their lives to that next level. So I want to thank everybody that's joined today. I want to thank everybody that's put something in the comments. I appreciate it. It's amazing. We are here every Tuesday, 6 p.m. adapt the canvas, tell your friends, spread the word. We're building a community. Again, thank you for everybody that is leaving messages and contributing. Really appreciate you. And just looking forward to taking this on the road and doing this live, which we'll probably be doing towards the end of the year. So if you have a venue, or you know anybody who has a venue and you know that they're interested in doing these types of events and they want to do it live, I'm interested in coming to wherever it is in the world and doing these sessions live, doing 2-day workshops and really taking you through some of these processes that I'm doing with my private members. I'd love to do them in a 2-day workshop. So if you've got a facility out there and you want to do this over a period of 2 days workshop, please email me at info@adaptthecanvas.com and let's have a discussion. Let's figure out how we can share this message with the majority of the world, and let me come into your business, into your community, and offer some of this new way of thinking. So again, thank you everybody. Have a great week. I will see you next week for another episode of Adapt the Canvas. Remember the newsletter, adaptthecanvas.com, and I will see you all next week. Have a great week. Thank you very much, guys.